Welcome to Extra Time with me, Rob Bonnet. Well, today, as you can see, we've come to the All-Stars gym in London to meet a boxer who's single-handedly changed the face of her sport. In the testosterone-fueled macho world of boxing, it's hard to imagine a more unlikely character than the 32-year-old Olympic, Commonwealth and European champion Nicola Adams, who enlightens her every victory with a smiling modesty. But what drew her into the sport, and what might motivate her further? Nicola Adams, welcome to Extra Time.
Thank you.
Boxing fans will have appreciated, of course, all the skill and quality that took you to such a decisive win against Can Ray in the 2012 London Olympic final. But what perhaps the general public will remember above all is your smile as the referee, and there it is again, as the referee raised your hand as the winner. You really do love your sport, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I'm so passionate about boxing, and to win the Olympic medal in London and to get the gold medal and have all the fans and all the support that I had in Britain was absolutely amazing. Yeah. To think that they love the sport just as much as I do, it just made it 10 times better.
Yes. Tell us in brief the highlights of that particular fight, that final.
I'd definitely say the knockdown in the second round. Yeah, and then having my hand raised at the end.
Can you remember that emotion now for us? Can you recount that for us?
Yeah, but it's so hard to put into words. I was happy. I felt like crying at some points, and then I just remember thinking, oh my God, I've done it. I'm Olympic champion, and then I was like, I've made history as well. I was like, wow. And by the time they raised my hand, I was just like, wow.
And watching the film back again, I also saw that you were smiling as you entered the ring. So I wonder what that was about. I mean, was that a smile of nervousness, or was that a smile of simply saying, this is my ring, I'm going to win gold, and an enjoyment for the sport?
Yeah, it was. I was relaxed. I always go into the ring with a smile on my face.
Yes.
Because my coach always tells me to have fun when you're in there. As big as the occasion might be, it's still a sport, and you need to be able to have fun, and that's what I do. I go into the ring, I'll be smiling, I have a laugh and a joke with my coaches beforehand, and then it's game on once the bell goes.
And you've got a smile on your face as you tell the story, but I mean, that's in contrast, isn't it, to the kind of mental attitude that you might see from men going into the ring, where it's the head down, grin faces, very, very much of a contrast to what I think we've come to expect from boxers going into the ring.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you do get some of the female boxers that are like that as well.
Really?
Everybody has their own way of getting ready and preparing for a competition. Some people like to sit in a corner by themselves with the headphones on and not speak to anybody, and some people they have their own way of lacing up the boots. They have to do the left leg before the right leg. And
what do you do? What are your superstitions?
I'm just quite relaxed, really. I'm easygoing. As long as I've got music going in the background and the coaches are there, I'm cool, having a laugh and a joke. I'm quite relaxed. I don't really like to have superstitions and a set of rules of the way that I need to do stuff, because if I ever get into a competition and I can't do that, that could mess up my whole game plan. So I like to keep things very relaxed, chilled, and then just get in the ring and do the business.
It all sounds very matter of fact, doesn't it? But nevertheless, let's move on now. 2 years, Commonwealth Games in Glasgow.
Yeah.
Most people might think, well, that had a sense of anticlimax to it. Not quite the thing as an Olympic gold medal, but how did you react when you won?
Oh no, that was still another piece of history for me. So I was still very happy to be there and performing and winning another gold. It was even more important to me because I went into that competition with a really serious shoulder injury.
Yes.
I couldn't really throw my left arm the way that I wanted to, and it was hindering me a lot. And to be able to win a gold medal with practically one arm, it was it definitely was.
You were a one-armed boxer?
Yeah.
Were you?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
So I had to change almost my whole style of boxing going into that tournament. It was like telling somebody that you've been writing loads of years with your right hand, saying, okay, now you have to write with your left hand.
Yes.
And I had to change my whole stthink to pull that off.
And is that shoulder still vulnerable?
Oh no, I had an operation after the Commonwealth Games. I think it was eight months out, getting having physio and treatment, getting it strong again, and then I came back for the European Games, which I created another little piece of history for, and got a nice gold medal, and it's working good now, and I'm happy being able to box the way that I normally box.
Well, now, of course, you've also come to be known as a boxer who does the old Ali shuffle in the ring, which is a nice little trademark thing, and of course pays respect to the great Muhammad Ali. You just have to wonder what you might have done all those years ago when you first fell in love with boxing. I mean, what you might have done without those role models of Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard. I mean, that was where it all started, basically, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. That was where it started for me. I don't know, to be honest. I think I'd have probably still ended up boxing. Well, I actually ended up going to boxing because my mum couldn't get a babysitter.
Right.
For me and my brother. She used to do aerobics classes, and then she took us down to an after-school boxing class. And I absolutely fell in love with the sport. So who knows?
How did she feel about that? Because it would have been unusual, wouldn't it, in those days? I mean, we're talking almost 20 years ago now, aren't we?
Yeah.
How did she feel about her young girl? Maybe she might even said her baby. Getting involved in a sport which, frankly, involves violence. How did she feel about that?
I think at the time, because I was so young, I think she just liked the fact that I was having fun and I was enjoying the sport. And I never thought I was ever going to end up doing competition. And it wasn't until a year later that my coach said to me, you've got some skill, and have you ever thought about taking it up as a sport and going into competition? And I said, yeah, why not? Give it a go. And
But let's drill down now into what it was essentially about boxing that captivated you. I mean, just set aside the history for one moment. What it is about throwing punches, for example, that you enjoy. I mean, a well-thrown punch can be as sweet to the person who does it as a batsman who might hit a six, or a footballer who strikes a beautiful shot in the top right-hand corner of the goal. In sheer sort of physical terms, what is it about you like?
I love the technical side of boxing, and I love the fact that whatever you put into the sport is what you'll get back. So the harder you train, the more effort you spend, the better you'll be. And I really liked that, and I liked seeing the progress as well.
Do you enjoy inflicting pain on your opponent?
I don't think it's the inflicting pain. I think for me, it's always been like a game of tag. Because that's what it initially is.
It's a very physical game of tag.
It's a physical game of tag, but I guess that's what it is. You're trying to catch the person before they can catch you. And my coach has always been really, really big on defence, and he's always said to me, it's about hitting and not getting hit. And I don't get hit very often. I can say in the amount of the many years I've been boxing, I've never had a black eye, bust nose, or bust lip. So I think that's down to having good coaching and defensive skills, and I actually don't like getting hit, so I'm actually quite quick at defensively getting out of the way.
Yes. Well, I mean, everybody says that boxing is about controlled aggression.
Yeah, it is.
And I think I understand that, and I'm sure our viewers would too. But nevertheless, this was at a period in your life when your parents were divorcing. So there was some anger inside you too as well, wasn't there? I mean, was boxing a kind of outlet for that, would you say? Yeah,
it was. I think it was a place where I could go, and I had it was almost like a little family. I see my team and the other boxers more than I do my family, and we spend Monday to Thursday together every week, and so it's a lot of time. You get to know everybody, and I think it was just that sort of your coaches are almost like family family members, you know, and you can talk to them, and it was
Almost
really nice to be able to have that.
Almost
I
a
think.
substitute for your father, maybe one or two of the coaches. Would that be right at the
Yeah,
time?
yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I mean, my coach now he turned 80 the other day, and you know, he's like my granddad. He's
I was going to say more of a granddad than a father.
He's like a little Mr. Miyagi. You know, he'll have me doing all kinds of different drills. One where I'm throwing a tennis ball at a curtain, or I'm sweeping the floor in a certain way, and I'm like, why am I doing this? And then I'll be throwing a punch. And
you better explain to me why you would be throwing a tennis ball at a curtain. What's that got to do with boxing?
Yeah, well, it's the way that I was throwing the tennis ball at the curtain was how you'd throw a right hand, but
Okay.
like sort of coming round the corner, and I couldn't throw this shot for a couple of weeks. I couldn't do it. I couldn't get it. And he says, right, okay. I spent 2 hours throwing a tennis ball at a curtain, and after doing that, I could throw the shot just perfectly, and I've been able to ever since I did that. And I was throwing this ball at the curtain, and he's working with the other girls and the boys in the gym, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm studying, I'm supposed to be learning boxing, and I'm throwing a tennis ball at a curtain.
But there was a kind of
keep going.
There was a kind of method in the madness there.
Yeah,
Yes,
definitely.
Exactly. I mean, the fact is that when you started, I mean, you were the only girl, I think, weren't you, in the gym? I mean, how did the boys treat you?
Yeah, just the same, really. I was just another boxer in the gym. Yeah. I think maybe if I'd have started boxing when I was older, I'd have probably noticed being the only girl a bit more, but because I was so young, you just kind of, you're just playing and having
And maybe
having
the physical
fun, really.
differences at that age, we're talking about what, the age of 13 or so, something like
12,
that?
Yeah,
12, 13. The physical differences
really
aren't that much, are they? I suppose that might be it, yes. The thing is that you, at that point, very early on, you decided you wanted to become the Olympic champion. And as I say that, I'm going to ask you now to just show us your Olympic medal, because we'd like to see it. But I just wonder, as you open the box there, I just wonder whether you ever really thought at that point that you were going to win that Olympic medal.
Do you know what? I remember thinking to myself one day, I would actually be an Olympic champion. And I mean, women's boxing wasn't even
But that's the
an
point,
Olympic
isn't
sport.
it? I mean, how
So
could you
to
have that?
yeah.
How could you have that dream without it even being an Olympic sport? That's very curious, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it was just the fact that I'd seen Muhammad Ali, the reruns of him winning his gold medal, and Sugar Ray Leonard, and I just used to think, you know, one day that'll be me. I'll be able to do that one day. And at that time, I didn't know how I'd get there. Yeah.
Despite all the obstacles that existed at the time.
At that time, I didn't know how quite I was going to get there. I just believed that it was going to happen one day. And
Let's talk a little bit about how, you know, you did develop as a woman boxer in a world which was still very, very male orientated. I mean, what kind of objections were there to you as you developed your career, and how did you respond to them?
I mean, I was quite lucky. I had coaches that wanted to train me, and they didn't mind training women, and so that I was quite lucky that I didn't get much of the negativity, because they tended to keep that away from me. But I know.
Do you think people were saying things behind your back?
I reckon there would have been, like, oh, you know, women shouldn't be boxing, and there'd be people that'd say they should be in the kitchen, you know, just cooking and stuff. But yeah, I always liked the fact that I changed minds when I was in the ring boxing. I remember there was a coach when I boxed when I was younger, and he was like, oh, I'd never have females in my gym, and then he saw me box, and he was like, wow, you'd beat some of my lads. He says, oh, I'm gonna let girls train in the gym now, and you know, and it was just so nice to hear. I think people just tend to be afraid of things that have never been done before or that are new.
Pushing the barriers.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
And I think the more that they saw me perform, the more they saw women's boxing, they were like, oh wow, you know, they actually can box. But I guess it's just, you know, the boxer's always going to be as good as the coach, and if there's a bad female boxer in the gym, it's not down to the boxer, it's down to the coach.
Right. I mean, there was an enormous cultural change, wasn't there, in the 1990s? Because until 1996, in the UK, women's boxing was banned.
Yeah.
And there were some interesting, I put that word in inverted commas, some interesting reasons Why? I mean, officials were saying that the premenstrual tension
Yeah.
that women felt made them unstable, and therefore it would be entirely wrong to put them in a boxing ring. I mean, you laugh as I say that,
Yeah.
and you laugh again now as I say it again, but I mean, how did you react when that kind of objection was put to you?
I mean, like, well, I didn't really, I mean, I was only young, so I wasn't really that into the politics and stuff then, but when I hear about what the reasons were, when I hear that now, it's just laughable.
Yes.
I mean, I guess there was time when women couldn't even, you know, do 100-meter sprint and long distance running.
But that doesn't involve hitting people, does it?
Yeah, that's true, but it's still sports that women weren't allowed to do because they thought that we weren't capable of doing that. And I guess in every sport we've just had to show that, you know, we're human. We can do other things. We can do sports. We can do boxing. We can do running. We can do football. And it's just been the same thing throughout history. I guess you could go right back to when women weren't even allowed to vote, and that's not physical at all.
No.
So, you know, it's we've just had to push the barriers,
yes.
I guess.
And you've certainly been an ambassador in that respect, haven't you? But I mean, there were some respected voices in boxing who objected to you starting your career, or at least getting to the stage where you were, you know, going to the Olympics and had a real prospect of winning that gold medal. I mean, Amir Khan, I think he's changed his mind now, but Amir Khan said deep down, I think that women shouldn't fight. And of course, the Cuban authorities refused to send female boxers to the London 2012 Games, didn't they? Because, well, they used the word that it was inappropriate. So pushing barriers back, that's been your kind of thing, hasn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I believe you should be able to do any sport you enjoy. And if you can win a medal for your country, I think it's, you know, even it makes it even more special. And I think to be able to do that for Great Britain was really nice for me, because normally it's America or China or Russia that are, you know, taking home all these gold medals all the time, and it was just nice to think, you know what, Great Britain's done something real special here. We've pushed the barriers, we've broken the barriers, and we've taken home the first ever gold medal in boxing. So it's really, really nice, and I think it says a lot about Great Britain as a country today. Now, talking more generally about boxing itself, I mean, how do you confront the potential hazards of boxing as you move forward in your career? I guess it's not something I tend to think about, really.
Shouldn't you?
Well, I guess if I thought about getting hurt all the time, or I'd never do anything. It's like if I thought about crossing the road, and I kept on thinking I'm going to get knocked over, I'd never cross the road. It's just one of those things. You just get on with it and try to enjoy life, and, you know, try not to worry about the things that could happen, I guess.
That's not reckless?
No, because, well, if I worried about crossing the road, then, you know, I'd never be here doing this interview, for instance. I'd never get in a car because I'd be afraid of being in a car accident. So it's, you know, it's just one of those things, I guess.
A final thought on concussion, because that's really what we're talking about now. I mean, it's become a very hot topic in rugby union, and it's a very, very hot topic in American football, where there's a £1 billion lawsuit now against the NFL, the National Football League, which is going through as things stand at the moment. The medical profession as well has always been against boxing, the British Medical Association. So, I mean, you talk about crossing the road and all the rest of it, and I understand what you're saying there in terms of risk assessment, I suppose that's what we're talking about. But when folk from the British Medical Association say that boxing is frankly not worth the risk, how do you react to that? I just say that I still love the sport. I just love the sport. I love everything about it. I love the technical aspects, and I'd still do it. I'd still box. I think it's the entertainment side of the boxing that I love. I love being able to step in the ring, and I like to hear the crowd, the cheering, and the loving the sport. And I think that's what I like. A final point on this. Audley Harrison, himself, of course, a former Olympic champion. He says he's suffered a few traumatic brain injuries. He's going to have to work hard, retired now, to reverse some of the effects taking punches to the head has brought to his overall health. What you can't afford to do is to be in that kind of situation, let's say 10 years from now.
Oh yeah, definitely not. I think if I was to suffer anything, I'd be out of the
Would you?
Out of the game very.
You'd know when
very
to
quick.
retire.
Yeah,
you would
yeah.
know that. And
Oh yeah, definitely. I wouldn't continue if it was going to affect my health. Definitely not.
Let me ask you about the image of the sport itself. A lot of trash talking in the men's boxing.
Yeah.
You're not a trash talker, are you?
No, no.
I don't think anybody would believe you, frankly, if you started.
Yeah.
Does that bring the sport into disrepute, do you think? The kind of, David Hay, for example, posters of a severed head of Vladimir Klitschko publicising his fight with Klitschko. I mean, how do you feel about that? What does it do for boxing?
I think it's more of the entertainment kind of side of the boxing. You want to hear like, oh, he said this and he said this back, and I guess it just builds up the fight in the.
Well, it sells tickets. That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah, but I think I'm more of work hard in silence type, and let my noise be when I enter the ring and deliver the business. I think the people that give it all that, it's insecurities speak loud. So
that's an interesting thought. Yes.
I'm more about silence is confidence.
What do they call you now? What's your nickname?
The baby-faced assassin.
Yes. Perhaps we ought to add in the silent baby-faced assassin.
Yeah.
Now, you're a role model also, aren't you, for the lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender community? Another area, of course, in which you are quite clearly pushing the boundaries. What kind of responsibilities do you feel as a national figure in that respect?
I think it's just been nice to be able to help people out there in like hard situations kind of thing. Like a lot of people might have trouble coming out and
Did you?
talking to their parents.
Did you?
Well, no, actually, funnily enough, my mum was really nice about it, but then she's quite relaxed and
She sort of said, shrugged her shoulders and said, "So what?" More or less, did you?
Yeah, basically just make me a cup of tea, and that was it. I was like, oh right, okay.
But this declaration of your bisexuality hasn't given you any problems away from the family hearth, as it were.
No, definitely not. I think people have respected me more to be able to stand up for who I am and just be proud.
Well, now it's one thing to be the first woman to win an Olympic gold medal in boxing, but it's quite another to be the first woman to retain it. So we're just a little less than a year away now from Rio. How are things shaping up in terms of your preparation?
Oh, really good. I just won the European Games a couple of months ago, so I'm the Queen of Europe at the moment. It was really good preparation for me just to see where I was at, because I'd just come back from my serious shoulder injury, so it's nice to see that everything's going very well. And I've got a couple of tournaments in between, and then it's the qualifiers for Rio. I'm excited.
Yes, and if you did decide to turn professional afterwards, you certainly wouldn't be the first Olympic champion to do so. I know you're going to tell me that you take each step as it comes and all that kind of thing, but this must be a serious consideration for you now, turning professional eventually after Rio.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it could be a good move. We've had Ronda in the UFC that's really making headlines and made UFC a quite exciting sport for the women. And who knows? Maybe I could do that for the professional boxing. But I've got, I am focusing on Rio at the moment, and I'd love to do some TV work and some acting as well. So I don't know what I'm going to do after Rio, to be honest. I think for now I just have to focus on Rio and then see what happens after that.
Yeah. Well, I remember, of course, you were in Coronation Street once as an extra, so you talk about TV acting. But what would be the motivation for turning professional? Would it be the money, or would it be the celebrity? What would it be?
I think for me it'd just be trying to break some more barriers, I think, and maybe to create a little bit more history.
Nicola Adams, thank you very much for joining us on ExtraTime.
Thank you.
Very much.